The story was also repeated to a smaller or a larger extent in the case of poultry and corn. However, notwithstanding the fact these developments were gratifying, the list of challenges and unfinished agenda has also been very large. As a growing democracy, we find that population growth, even at controlled rates, leads to high absolute numbers that have to be fed. Coupled with high absolute numbers is the fact that our economy is on a high growth path. This has not only pushed the demand for food products higher, but also created a demand which is increasingly characterized by quality. We are also aware, indeed painfully so, that land has become degraded with years of chemical use and needs to be rejuvenated. Further, water and irrigation facilities need to be augmented. As new arable land is not going to be available, therefore, innovative ways have to be found to produce more and increase yields. This kind of a list is endless. We are making a sincere effort to address these issues in a number of ways. For instance, we are moving away from the concept of food security to nutrition security. We are trying to ensure that calorie availability by itself is not enough. I am happy to report that 3 states in our country, namely Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, and Tamil Nadu, have already now ahead of their Millennium Development Goals, and 4 more states will achieve these goals shortly. We are also improving our research and extension capabilities in respect of other crops, including coarse grain and pulses, so that more options are provided for balanced diets. Crop rotations and better land utilization is being encouraged to increase production and improve land quality. And lastly, technologies for better water usage are being consciously encouraged. Having said this, I turn to the last portion of my presentation. Despite the steps that we have taken and which I have outlined, I must confess that collective memories linger over very large times. One of our collective memories is that of the years of scarcity. Hence, we continue to be very conscious of any over-dependence on imports. For example, in the case of pulses, we currently produce 14 million tons and consume 18 million tons, the gap being bridged by imports. And there are a large number of people in the country who are deeply concerned about this. To my mind, this gap is not very significant, nor is it of such an order that it would threaten our food security. But it illustrates the point that there is a constant pressure to be self-sufficient. We believe that consumption should be around 30 million tons to provide good nutrition to our citizens, and want that this growth should be India-driven. This is the reason for my making an earlier remark that in the context of food security, the challenges are never-ending. What have been our learnings from the Green Revolution? The first learning is that there must be a long-term strategy on food security and a long-term plan of action. This should be supported by a dedicated team of professionals working in a mission mode. We were fortunate to have strong leaderships spearheading our green revolution, supported by professionals like Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. Kurian, and Dr. Chadda, and countless others. The second learning is that you need to invest consciously and continuously in the process. As the process unfolds, there will always be new requirements and new challenges, and therefore, unless investment is aggressively sustained, the impetus for green revolution seems to taper off. The third learning is that for the process to succeed, you have to get the buy-in of all the stakeholders. This includes growers, traders, consumers, infrastructure providers, and policymakers. The fourth learning is that fragile frameworks do not work. You need to build a robust, comprehensive system that grows along with the plan. If you are planning an NX increase in production, the support system also has to grow by the same factor to handle increased quantities. We have also learned that from the point of view of equity, you need a balance of activism, regulation, and intervention, and that disequilibrium in this mix tends to distort the process. Our last learning has been that the benefits of the process have to reach all citizens. Only then there will be a groundswell of support for the initiative. In conclusion, I would like to say that while India has come a long way in the area of food securities in the last 50 years, the road does not end here. New challenges remain to be tackled to equip the country to meet new benchmarks. Thus, for example, we have set ourselves ambitious targets under our Food Security Bill and accepted those enshrined in the Millennium Development Goals. But these targets and these goals are no more than milestones on the very long route ahead. Our goal is to have 1.5 billion population of well-nourished citizens. And, inshallah, we will achieve this goal with the cooperation of all concerned. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Mr. Toth, because I think this is a very impressive result you managed to reach in India, and which could be an example for many other countries, and I'm especially thinking to Sub-Saharan Africa. Just one question. Today, agricultural prices in India are completely managed by the state?
This has been an area of concern with us. The management of agricultural prices and the choice between managed agricultural prices and free market prices has been a debate that has gone on at least for the last decade. We have consciously chosen to manage our agricultural prices. I would like you to remember that India is not Delhi, and it is not Bombay, and it is not Calcutta. India lives in 600,000 villages, and 60% of its 1.5 billion population lives there. While we have every reason to see that we have to maintain an equilibrium between the high growth rates in our services sector and the low growth rate of around less than 2% in agriculture. And we have taken this as a conscious political decision, but I was heading a commission recently, And one of our recommendations in the Commission was to design a 3-year plan for decontrol of essential prices according to free market rates.
Good luck to you.